This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube with a Christmas video update here. Missing Piper, who's in Canada right now. My dog, the official mascot of the Hannibal TV, but she's doing well. Merry Christmas to you guys. We're going to talk about a few subjects tonight, but let's start by one subject that I'll just weigh in my opinion of is the sexual assault thing that happened to Coco Beware. Let's just listen to Coco's version of it here. Was there a rib played on you with Andre the Giant and Brian Blair once?
Yeah, it was one night, Brian Blair and Andre and all that stuff, and we was going somewhere, but we was in this big old rental van or something, and Blair's trying to hold me while Andre's trying to mess with me and stuff like that.
Oh, he was just a lot of fun. I remember being in. He was in the van with Terry Garvin was in the back. Coco Ware was in there in the van. I was in the front, and I believe it was Hector Guerrero was on the driver's side. So
He said it was J.J. Dillon in the other
was
video.
in the back there with Terry Garvin and Coco, and we're driving, and all of a sudden I hear, "Boss, hey boss, let me go, boss, you're stiff," and I look back and I see, Terry's a gay guy, and Andre had front face locked Coco and clamped him in hard, and there was nowhere for Coco to go. And I'm driving down the road, and I figure they're just joking around, and all of a sudden I hear Coco's pants ripped, and he's going, "Andre, Terry, no, please don't do it, don't do it." And I'm thinking, oh my God, here I am. I'm responsible for this territory, and Coco's going to get raped in the van. And I said, oh God, I can't let this happen, because then I turn around and I see Terry, and believe me, he was ready to do the deal. And I hear, all of a sudden I hear, Terry, no.
All right, so he's Brian Blair, who is a known liar. People were asking me in the version where I'm talking to Blair why I'm laughing, because I thought Blair was just making this all up because he's a liar. He's a tall tale teller. He tells a lot of tall tales, much like our friend here, who I won't even mention his name. There's another guy in wrestling, an old carny guy that tells a lot of tales. But as for Brian Blair, let's break it down. He's driving in a car, in a van, with Andre the Giant, Coco Beware, and either Hector Guerrero or J.J. Dillon. There's two versions of the story. So it was either Hector Guerrero or J.J. Dillon. At one point, and Terry Garvin, who is gay. And apparently, according to J.J. Dillon did say this in an interview where I actually bought the rights to the interview with John Paz, where he mentions that Terry Garvin was paid a sum of money during the Ring Boys scandal to basically disappear. He had been a WWE agent. This was around the time that Pat Patterson resigned, and there was a whole bunch of crap going on. Which, by the way, the Ring Boys scandal has been reactivated in Maryland due to them waiving the statute of limitations. But basically, Terry Garvin was known as a type of sexual predator. He was gay. At some point during this trip, I guess Andre the Giant decides to get Coco in the front face lock. Coco says that Brian Blair helped hold him. So who knows what's true? But apparently Terry Garvin got hard and started slapping himself on either Coco's back or booty. Whether it went in or not, who knows? Brian Blair, who finds this all very funny, finishes the story in all versions where he tells it that he jammed on the brakes, Coco made a scream sound, and went running out of the car. Now, I thought that was all bullshit until Coco confirmed that some type of incident like that happened. And it makes you wonder, because Brian Blair also claims that he heard the Iron Sheik doing inappropriate stuff with a ring boy. And basically, in both of these cases, he was a party to a sexual assault, and apparently didn't want to do anything about it at the time. Didn't stop either one of them. May have actually helped hold Coco down. Didn't report them, but 25 years later, in shoot interviews, he talks about it. So my opinion of it is the ribs were really messed up back then. And supposedly Coco, speaking about the upcoming Ring Boy scandals, he's involved. He's been named in the Maryland one for apparently a prank that he pulled himself that alleged patting down. I forget if it's a 13 or 14-year-old, but when he was doing this rib, hey, we got to frisk you. Supposedly he got a handful of the kid's package. Who knows if it's true or not? If that was the case, I mean, at some point, probably all of us have been grabbed there at various points as a joke by friends or whatever. And in the 80s, that was probably considered more serious and more than it is now. I mean, I remember probably during COVID, I remember going through an airline thing, and this guy is like, "Oh, I got to check you after I go through the thing," and the airline person who was a male just grabs me after there. He's like, "Oh, I got to make sure you got nothing there," and I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck? Seriously? How is that protecting anyone? Anyways, all I'm saying is Coco's in trouble himself now. And for Brian Blair, he's certainly a weirdo that lies a lot, and it's hard to say what's true or not. One thing's for sure, he didn't do anything to help in either case. And yeah, Coco definitely downplayed it because he's involved in the Ring Boys thing now for allegedly groping a kid. So that's not anything that he really wants to jump into. The Iron Sheik, supposedly he is from Iran. And yeah, some people are saying in Iran, and I don't know if this is true, but some people commented for his alleged molestation that there is stuff like that with older men and guys that go on there. Who knows? I really don't know. Someone says being gay in the 80s was very taboo and guys wanted to hide it from others. Apparently, it wasn't that hidden in the wrestling business. Somebody says he couldn't see himself being gay considering that he had a heart-throbbing crush. I don't care what sexuality you are, but for the rib that they played to Coco is basically hold them there, and at some point when you tap your dick on somebody, that's sexual assault to me. Whether they actually put it in Coco or not, there's been no one's confirmed or denied it. But at some point he was held against his will and a penis was tapped on him, on either his lower back or his butt. Rick Martel, I have been talking to Nails, Mike. But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that for Coco's frisking rib, I could see, hey, let's frisk the kid, blah blah blah. I mean, I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying to me that's less. That's a weird, messed up joke, but that's less disturbing than making a guy think he's gonna get raped. I don't know. What does everyone think of this? This has been making the rounds today. I guess Sports Illustrated named AEW the promotion of the year somehow. Again, they just came off a 0.08 rating this week. And Tony Khan is crediting AEW's turnaround to eliminating creative meetings and doing everything on his own. What is the turnaround? Please define me what is AEW's turnaround. Because from what I understand, ratings are down like 25 to 30% this year. Attendance is down. interest in the product is down. They're going to arenas where independent shows run now and comic cons rather than major arenas. Please explain to me the turnaround. And by the way, guys, it's December 25th today. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. There's a picture of my wonderful dog Piper, who I'm missing today, being outside of Canada. But I guess it's safe to say that Chris Jericho is not going to appear in AEW again because he hasn't appeared since April. So either AEW just let Jericho sit on the bench for 6 months while ratings tanked and is going to magically bring him back next year, or he's going to WWE. I would suggest he's probably going to WWE. But here's the one thing I don't understand when we talk about AEWs. They say their turnaround. I disagree. I don't think there is a turnaround. I think that they're less popular now. I want them to do better, though. For people that say I'm a hater, no, I'm just calling it as I see it. That's it. I want them to do better. But if you're getting 0.08 ratings, which by the way is really bad, considering they're supposedly making 123 million a year for those ratings, where NXT is beating them in ratings every week and only getting 23 million a year over on the CW. So they're getting like 100 million less and beating them. Why don't you have your top wrestlers on every show? Why did Chris Jericho just sit at home for 6 months doing nothing? Well, your ratings are bombed more than 6 months. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 9 months. 9 months, guys. By the way, all my hands are calloused. That's from training. Some of us train, build those big muscles. But yeah, I mean, if I was the company paying them 123 million a year, I would be like, why are you having the lower people on the roster on the show every week and only using one or two of your top guys? Why are your top guys not used more often? Because ratings are tanking. It doesn't make any sense. Someone agrees to me. Someone's bringing up Marty Jannetty. The goons slapping their wieners together in the locker room. I will say that Methy Crackheady, is a lot of people call him. I do suspect he talks about that side, that sexual persuasion enough, and talks about males' genitalias enough that there's definite. I wouldn't be surprised if he's had some type of experience in his life with the amount that he talks about it. Because I mean, you guys watch me, and unless I'm doing an interview where there's a joke or a story about something, I'm not on here every day talking about male genitalias. Where people like our friend Methy Crackheady there. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, just think about it. He's constantly talking about other guys' junk. So yeah, I would suspect that he has more of that side to him than other people, and there's nothing wrong with that. I truly don't care. Mike D says, "Would I ever?" By the way, I'm actually against those. I'm against gay people getting stoned in Saudi Arabia and transgenders getting stoned and transgenders advocates being sent to prison. I'm fully against that, by the way. Would I ever interview John Tence's daughter? Yes. Someone says if AEW is getting a 0.08 rating, that's like 1 in 10,000 people watching it. I mean, I think it's less than that, because what's the population of the US? 0.08. Let's look at this. We're live right now. It's Christmas. Let's actually do the math here. AEW viewership. Let's take a look at it, guys. So in 2025, they've averaged 450,000 to 600,000 viewers on average. Let's look at their last episode here. Dynamite ratings of your their last edition had 511,000 viewers. Okay, 0.08 rating. I'm good. And people, you guys can do the math along with me here. I'm just gonna put it up. I'm not making. I'm an honest person. Let's just put it up here. Population of the U.S. Okay, so the U.S. population is around 342 million. Okay. So someone figure that out. So if 511,000 people are watching, what percentage of the US is watching? I would venture to say that's probably less than 1%, but I don't know. Michael says AEW is way better than WWE. I'm not saying WWE is better. I don't like either one. And you know what? When I put up a picture of my cute little dog like I did earlier, I mean, how could I like WWE that features John Cena, who supports China, a country where they eat dogs and boil them and skin them alive? John Cena supports countries like China and Saudi Arabia. Someone says Tony Khan needs a lot of help. I don't know. He can literally do whatever he wants, but don't try and tell me there's a quote unquote turnaround when popularity's actually dropped over the past year. Who is the current hottest female in wrestling? I don't know if I could give a fair answer on that because I'm not. Well, I'm about to post a match from AEW star Harley Cameron that I acquired, so I'll say Harley Cameron, and I'm going to post that when I'm done here. I don't think anyone's going to argue with me on that she could be one of the top. In China, they eat dog, yeah, and they apparently they taste better after they've been tortured. So they torture them before they kill them. Let's look at my votes. Speaking of WWE, as far as Mick Foley saying, again, he didn't quit. He's saying he's not re-signing when his contract ends in June. The winner of the poll is, well, actually, the true winner is all of the above. If you want to, because I actually agree it is all of the above, which is they weren't going to re-sign him anyways, and they haven't used him on TV since 2023. He can probably get a better deal in AEW. People like his buddy Jake Roberts are making $600 a year for doing nothing. He is genuinely mad about the Donald Trump connection. I do agree it's all of the above. And you know what? The only thing I have to say I do think Mick Foley is overrated. He can say that if he wants about not re-signing. My only thing is, why don't you quit? Why do you say, well, I'm going to keep it going till the end of my contract in June? Why don't you just quit now? And the other thing is, he's not as big of a draw as people think. Over the years, I've bought 3 or 4 interviews of Mick Foley, and I don't think any of them got over 1,000 views. And keep in mind, I have numerous videos in the millions of views on this channel. Yes, some do in the millions, some bomb. Mick Foley's did not do well for a guy. They didn't make their money back, what I paid for them, for a guy that's a multi-time world champion. I know there was a company in Texas that used him several times and actually had to do ticket discounts as the shows got closer because they were so disappointed. And he had given them a special deal because Eric Embry was involved in the company. But I remember them telling me how disappointed they were that Foley wasn't good drawing. Okay, so here we go. Thank you, Brian Burson. Great lawyer in the New York area. And a very smart guy. So 0.149% of fans are watching AEW. That is the percentage of the US that are watching AEW. That's fair to say. Mike is thinking of Piper. Someone says they miss Ring of Honor before AEW was introduced. You see, the thing is, it's funny because Ring of Honor was actually better when it was less funded. For some reason, ever since AEW bought it, it's just I don't know why they. I guess Tony Khan was a Ring of Honor mark, but let's just think about this. AEW has more name value than Ring of Honor, so why not just promote everything as AEW and focus on one brand and make it a really good brand? Having the Ring of Honor people, like everyone leaves, other than a small percentage of people, leaves the arena when those matches happen, and they really drag out the shows and make them insanely long. There's not a big demand for Ring of Honor. After like 6 or 7 years, they still don't have a TV deal. So what's the point? Do I think Dino Bravo will ever go into the WWE Hall of Fame? Possibly, but his underworld connections might hurt it a bit. But if they ever put on a WrestleMania for Montreal, possibly. I know Montreal just paid them a bunch of money to have 2 events back to back there in January. And right now, ticket sales for both events are only around 6,000 in a 20,000 seat arena. And Montreal is paying money towards those shows. So I don't know how much they would shell out for a WrestleMania, because to me, WWE is only coming there like once a year now. You'd think they could draw more than 6,000 fans. Someone says Bret Hart was a company man. I don't know about that. Someone says Foley didn't draw flies 15 years ago when he came to a South Carolina town owned by the local promoter. Yeah, I'm not. First of all, I like the Cactus Jack character. That was my favorite version of the character. Speaking of Montreal, when I've told this story, I'm not going to tell it again. But the night of the Survivor Series, he went to the wrong hotel. I picked him up that night. In the lobby because I went to get his autograph, and he said, "Could you guys drive me to the right hotel?" Along the drive to the right hotel, I said my favorite wrestler was Ric Flair, and he completely snapped and yelled at me because he didn't think my favorite wrestler should be Ric Flair. He's like, "Why did you even pick me up? Why did you ask for my autograph if Ric Flair is going to be your favorite wrestler? Blah, 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 blah. You should learn some manners, kid." Meanwhile, the father, because I'm only 13 at this time, it wasn't my dad, but it was my friend's dad driving us. He's like shaking because he was just a pastor. He was a Baptist pastor who had never been in a fight, and Mick Foley, being like 6'3", 300 pounds, yelling at us, scared the crap out of him. Eddie Marty update? No, he's let's hope he's still alive. Someone says, who made the most views but were not big stars? I don't know how to answer that. Who was a good draw but not big stars? One future topic, and we're still voting on this, guys. I am going to do a topic on this. People keep, if you go to the community tab, maybe tomorrow I'll do this fan discussion. So far, Ric Flair is winning. But everyone says that Warrior was a flop. I would like to examine the real gates between Bret Hart and Ultimate Warrior with you guys and see who drew better, looking at the actual gates from those years. So far, Ric Flair's lies are winning. But who knows? We might cover both topics one day. Someone said they loved when the Nasty Boys beat up Cactus Jack and Max Payne. Apparently, that was more shoot. Someone says they're moving to America. Where do I go that still speak English, won't get shot? Well, I'm in Kansas, which to me is a great state. I feel I have a sponsor here helping me transfer over to the U.S., which is why I'm here. But the weather's nice. Hey, I was tanning outside today, and it's Christmas. We do have cold weather, but overall the weather's way better than in Canada. People are really nice. Yeah, Taz is in AEW, making a fortune. He's been there for 6 or 7 years, making a fortune. Thanks for the $2 tip. $1 for my poor American brother in the USA. Hey, here, you want to know the worst part about being in the US as a Canadian? The Canadian, the one American dollar is like $1.41, $1.42 US. Our dollar right now is the absolute shits. The Canadian dollar is the absolute shits. But who got a lot of views, but we're not the biggest stars? Well, here's an interest. I'll tell you from my own channel. I remember when I first went to LA to do interviews. I interviewed Tank Abbott and Tito Ortiz the same weekend, and I was expecting Tito to get way more views than Tank because he had just beat Chuck Liddell, and he was more mainstream. And Tank just absolutely wiped him out in ratings. So you can never know, but Foley, yeah, I don't think Foley. He had a couple memorable matches that have been talked about to a nauseating extent. He did not do all the hardcore stuff on house shows that he did on TV. He picked and chose his moments. I told this story before too, but I remember my parents could not take me to every wrestling event when I was a kid. I had to get their friends to take me sometime. And I remember specifically, it was after the Hell in the Cell thing. One of my mom's friends took me to a wrestling event in Ottawa. Foley was doing a quote unquote hardcore match with cookie sheets and stuff. And my friend is like, this looks so fake. Isn't he supposed to be the most realistic wrestler? I was like in 97, 98-ish maybe. And the guy who was only like a semi-wrestling man, he's like, this guy's very phony. Isn't he supposed to be like the realistic guy? No, it's because he had a house show level and he had another level for pay-per-views, which is smart, But he gets the false reputation that he really went out like that and gave it 100% his whole career. Maybe before he made it, he did, but as he got older, he did have a lazy mode. Someone says, do you remember when Black Pain spit blood out of his mouth? Yeah, Black Pain was my Puerto Rico tag team partner, Terror Incorporated. We are two-time WWC Puerto Rico tag team champions. Here's the funny thing. They ended up signing me in 2009 in WWE. Sadly, I failed the medical. Black Pain, they also signed sometime around then. They changed his gimmick. He was a great monster. They changed his gimmick to a stupid name, Sweet Poppy Sanchez that danced. And he was a total flop. They should have brought us in as the tag team Terror Incorporated because Black Pain was like 4 inches taller than me. I was a great bumper. I still am a great bumper, but like we complemented each other well. I remember actually at one point when John Moxley first debuted, they were going to bring him and Black Pain in together somehow. And by the way, some people are always, if anyone remembers back to the Puerto Rico days, when John Moxley and I were both in Puerto Rico at the same time, I was better known in Puerto Rico than John Moxley. So on an even scale, when I'm politically banned from the majors right now, but if I had an even scale with Moxley now, like we did in Puerto Rico, I truly believe I would outshine Moxley. That's my true feelings. Yes, I am Canadian. Someone says, I don't really know. Oh, someone's talking about the exchange rate. Chris says Black Pain was his favorite Puerto Rico wrestler. Yeah, he was good. And by the way, I beat him in Bayamon, Puerto Rico when we wrestled each other, the same arena where Bruiser Brody was killed. Yes, Don, Warrior did Drew better, but I can bring it down. And I don't want my friend Brian to hear that because he's a big Bret Hart fan. Someone says TNA is better than AEW. Am I familiar with Selzika Sparks? I've heard the name before. I think I might have one of her matches online. I'm pretty sure I do have one of her matches online. Someone says they hope they make a Black Pain action figure. Is he still wrestling? Because I haven't heard anything Anytime, any place, anywhere wants me to cover Ric Flair's lies. And yeah, the blacks, he did lie also about the Black Scorpion. We're not going to cover that today because we've already crossed the half-hour line here. And this was just supposed to be a Christmas check-in, but he did lie about the Black Scorpion angle as well. Big time. But if you guys go and go into the community and comment on this post and write exactly what lies of Ric Flair you want to cover, we can do that because it looks like that one's going to win. Any indie is better than AEW. I don't know about that. Again, I'm not an AEW hater. I want them to do better. We need another Wayne Ferris interview. Well, I think WWE put the Honky Tonk Man under Legends contract so he keeps his mouth shut and doesn't do shoot interviews. That's my honest to God truth on him. Yeah, WCW ruled at one point. Now it's pretty much dead. They had a habit of not paying wrestlers, screwing wrestlers over. Carlos Colon is one of the biggest liars. Victor Javica, he's an asshole, but Carlos has a way of lying to you with a smile on his face. That's it's very hard to stay mad at him until you get to the point where, hey man, you haven't paid me for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Pay me or I'm getting the hell out of here, which I ultimately did. I left WWC twice at times when I held titles, just because it's almost like, hey, we don't want to pay you, so we're going to put titles on you to try and keep you around longer, or we'll dangle, we're going to get you a WWE tryout. And they never do. Someone says WWE Hall of Famer Carlos Colon. Well, at the point they put him in, I think they were still, wasn't he promoting for WWE for a while? It seems like they've stopped going to Puerto Rico, though, since TKO took over for whatever reason. It seems like I would go back there. I would definitely go back there and give it another run. I know it's not full time anymore. I miss it. I haven't been there since 2008. I would just like to see some of my old friends. Steve, I covered this in detail at the start, but let's finish it off with, I'll be very blunt. I'll be very blunt here. Either Brian Blair is lying because he's a compulsive liar, which he does lie a lot. They even told me in Dark Side of the Ring that he seemed to be, the interviewers of Dark Side of the Ring thought he was one of the most dishonest people from that era to interview. And so he's either completely lying about these molestation and rape things that he likes to talk about, or they actually happened and he did nothing. That's what I have to say about that. Does Carlito know what happened to Bruiser Brody? He doesn't talk about it. Because Invader, guess what? Invader is his godfather, I believe. That's how close Invader is to Carlos. Now, I like Carlito. We're friends. I've wrestled both Carlito and Eddie and the nephew Orlando Colon, who I forget what his WWE name was, but the kids are different than the parents. I got nothing. I've never had any issues with the kid. Who lied more, Hogan or Flair? I would say Flair now because he outlived him. Just for living longer, Flair did. Please give this video a thumbs up. Have a wonderful Christmas. God bless you, and I thank you for all.